So we're very fortunate today to just be continuing with this thread of hope that we have as the theme of our gathering this year. And welcome to those of you who weren't with us in the last 2 days. We know that some people couldn't make the Thursday and Friday evening, or some people were in very strange time zones, so you can watch the recordings afterwards. But we welcome you to the third day and our last day of this mini artist gathering, and I'll hand over to AD.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to welcome Jess. Jess is a good friend of ours who's been with us for the last 4 years actually at the Arts Gathering. She's a friend of Heidi. And I love what Jessica wrote about hope. She said, how do you experience hope? Does it remain something abstract, or can it somehow be felt concretely? I'm a Feldenkrais method trainee. I love dancing and expressing through movement. In this session, we'll be curious and explore the dynamics of hope through our bodies. Jessica is a Feldenkrais method trainee. So that method, the Feldenkrais method, is a type of exercise therapy devised in the mid-20th century. The aim of it is to almost reorganize the connections between your brain and your body, and to improve your movement, your psychological state, improve your balance, your breathing, your coordination, your flexibility. And what's so nice about this is that Jessica also brings her faith into it and views us as embodied beings. So Jessica, we're really glad to have you this morning, and yeah, all the best for your session.
Thanks, AD. And thank you for introducing me and the Feldenkrais method so well. I think you did it even better than I could. So, hi everyone, and welcome. So, I think I'll just give a brief sort of overview of what we'll be doing today. So, I'll give a brief introduction and a bit of orientation, and then we'll go into the movement part of the session. And then we'll take about 10 minutes or so to kind of just wrap up and check in again. So I wonder if some of you would be willing to have your cameras on. This will help me to follow the class. But if you prefer to have it off, that's also fine. All right, so let me just get my notes. I will be relying on my notes for the session just to kind of keep things on track. So again, just welcome everybody. Now, just before we start, you're going to need a chair to sit on, kind of like a firm chair that's not too soft and that's quite stable, and where you can also have your feet on the floor, right? And then you'll need like a mat or a blanket to lie down on the floor. Even if you have like a carpeted floor, that's fine too. So I'll just give you guys a couple of minutes to get that together. I'm sorry if these requirements were not sent before the time. I'm not sure if they were, but just do the best you can to get yourself a chair and a place to lie down on comfortably. Okay, so I'm going to start just introducing myself and a little bit of what we'll be doing today. And if anyone just needs to gather their things, that's fine. You can listen at the same time, perhaps. So I'm in Africa. I'm a Christ follower, and I'm also a Feldenkrais method trainee, which is a method of learning movement and better body use. I also enjoy participating in various contemporary dance practices in Cape Town, mostly to do with improvisation and somatics. So today we'll be exploring some movements that are Feldenkrais inspired in terms of the structure. And this lesson I got from my Feldenkrais teacher in Cape Town. I was really inspired by this lesson, and I thought, this is the one I want to teach at the artist gathering. And so I will be verbally guiding you through. You don't actually need to see me for this. You just need to be able to hear me. And I'm going to be asking you questions for you to answer internally. Okay. So in terms of being a Christ follower, I've kind of connected the lesson to the theme of the conference, or I've aimed to. I have made a slight change to the title. So initially it was Waiting in Hope, but since then I decided to take things in a slightly different direction. So if I could rename it, it would be something like In Waiting, or just waiting, right? WAIT. So I would like you to just do what you can and be curious about how this is for you. And in the session, your material is your body and your attention. Start. If you have pain, if you experience pain, so these movements are not designed to hurt you, but if you do experience pain, then you have some options to please stop, pause, rest. If you do decide to attempt again, then try out a much smaller movement. Okay. All right, so we'll start just with a little bit of, maybe sit at your screen or have, be able to type in the chat, just a little word association game. So what comes to mind for you when you think about the word hope? And I will read out some words in the chat. When you think about hope, what comes up for you? Light, purpose, eternity, future, energy. Two futures. Energy, present, trust, waiting. Jasmine, first scent of spring. Contentment in now, vision. And what comes to your mind when you think about the word wait? So WAIT, wait. Discomfort, burden, longing, patience, frustration, heavy, gravity, impatience, opportunity to grow. Great, these are all lovely. I think, Anya, you meant pause. Pause, okay. Patience, reorganizing thoughts, darkness and unknowing, relax. Great. Rest. Okay, cool. And now just for yourself, if you'd like to write down on a piece of paper or on your phone, or on a piece of paper or on your phone, what are you waiting on God for? Or what are you hoping for? And then, so this question you can just write down now, but you'll have to come back to it maybe at the end, is what might God be saying to you through this session today about that? So what are you waiting on God for? And what might He be saying to you through the session about that? Okay, so we'll go into the movement part now of the session. And I would like you all to start, please, by lying on your backs. So you can come down to your mat or to your carpet or to a firm kind of surface where you can just lie down comfortably on your back. And if your camera is on, if you could possibly angle yourself so I could see you sideways, if possible. And you can have your legs bent up or long as you wish. Great. And as you're lying there on your back, just allow your weight to be carried by the floor. And breathe out. And breathe out so that you can have a lovely breath in. So breathing in and breathing out. Just the breath flowing in and out. And notice your contact with the floor. Notice how your pelvis makes contact with the floor. Is it even on both sides? And sense up your lower back to the back of your chest. Is there a way that you can soften, widen, ease up around your shoulders? And notice your arms and your hands, how they lie at your sides, or if you've chosen to put them on your belly. Are your palms facing up or facing down or facing sideways towards your body? And then travel down your midline and say good morning to your legs and feet. And roll your head a little bit side to side. Go slowly. And notice how at ease you are there or not. Is it different from one side to the other? That's good. And then slowly roll to one side and come to sit. And please, would you find your chair? So you're going to move towards your chair. And take a moment to sit on your chair with your feet underneath your knees, somewhere comfortably. And come away from the back So one thing I forgot to mention is that you might like to take your shoes off for this. So if you have socks on or barefoot, but maybe not shoes on for now. Okay. And so you're sitting on your chair, and I'd like you to feel your sitting bones. So your sitting bones are at the bottom of your pelvis, and if you don't know where they are, you could slip your right hand underneath your right buttock and feel for the bone. Feel for the bone. That's your right sitting bone. And then take your hand away and put your left hand underneath your left butt cheek and feel for the bone, and that's your left sitting bone. So as you sit there, can you get a sense of being on your sitting bones? And we'll call them the heels of the pelvis. Okay. And I would also suggest that you angle your chair so that it's slightly at a diagonal or sideways. So I'll just demonstrate that for a moment. So either diagonal, like this, or sideways. Great. Your feet can be on the ground, somewhere underneath your knees comfortably, and slightly spread. Okay, and the position we're going to be in for a lot of the lesson today is with your elbows on your knees. So have your elbows on your knees and cup your head in your hands. So you cup your chin in your hands. And the heels of your hands are together. So some of you might identify with this position if you've been in a situation where you are waiting for something, maybe waiting at an airport or waiting at a train station or a bus station or just waiting. And there's nothing special to do, you just have to wait. So this is a great lesson also for easing up your spine. So as you're in this waiting position, and for some of you it might be interesting, the pull in your back or your elbows might be a little bit pokey. So how might you adjust to be a little bit more comfortable in this position? You could put maybe a towel underneath your elbows or take frequent rests in sitting, resting from this position. Okay, great. And now lift both your elbows just barely off your knees and return. Slowly and gently. And notice, where do you work? So you keep your chin cupped in your hands, and it's just your elbows that are lifting barely off your knees and return. And notice, where do you work? Are you holding your breath? And what do you do with the rest of yourself as you do this? Pause with that. And then begin to slide your right elbow towards your right hip joint. And then slide it back towards your knee. So think about your right elbow and just slide it along your thigh towards your knee. And come back. And you keep your chin cupped in your hands. Go slowly, make it a small movement. That's it. How does the rest of yourself adjust to allow this to happen? Can you stay in contact but minimize the friction? Do you hold your breath? Does your weight shift? What happens to your spine and chest? And then pause, rest comfortably however you like. And now, same position, elbows on your knees, cupping your chin in your hands, or cupping your face in your hands. Your chin is resting in your hands. And now begin to tilt your head a little bit to the right and come back. Do this many times, slowly. And the reason why you go slowly so that you can be tracking what you're doing. Your nervous system can be tracking and registering what you're doing. Your hands stay touching your face. The heels of your hands are together as you do this. And sense the movement in your neck and wrists. Your right wrist bends back as your left wrist straightens. Where does the weight of your head shift to? Onto which leg and foot? Can you breathe easily as you do this? And rest a moment. So when you rest, you can rest sitting up or even stand a bit if you need to. But always coming back to this position, elbows on your knees, cupping your chin in your hands. And this time, tip your head to the left and return. And do this comfortably. How easily does the movement begin? You transfer, pour, shift the weight of your head through your forearm onto your left leg. Do your wrists move equally well in this direction? It can be nice to feel our wrists sometimes. We often don't think about them except if, you develop a problem there, but they're actually quite important. Just tuning into what your wrists are doing as you tip your head. And pause a moment with that. Rest. And elbows on your knees, cupping your head in your hands. And now combine. So once you tip your head to the right, and come back and tip your head to the left, and come back. Pouring the weight. And track the weight shifting on your sitting bones and the movement of your spine at the same time. Breathing easily. The heels of your hands are together, and you're observing the movement of your wrists. And also notice your grip on your face. So I know I often kind of, grip with this, but can you hold your chin, have a clear contact, but let go of any gripping? And also, can your jaw be at ease? Good. And let that go, and please rest sitting up. And as you're sitting up, breathe into your back and sides. Can you sense the sides of your neck in sitting? And then back to the waiting position. Elbows on your knees, cupping your head in your hands. You're at the airport and you have nothing special to do. It's about a 2 to 3 hour delay to be confirmed. You just have to wait it out. So now you slide your right elbow along your thigh towards your right hip joint. And notice, has this movement changed? How does your spine and chest move to allow your elbow to draw towards your right hip? Is it perhaps a little easier now to feel how the rest of you participates? Lovely. And then pause with that. Keep your chin cupped in your hands and begin to look up and return. So you keep your elbows on your knees and your wrists together and slowly look a little bit up and return. So there's a bit of give in your neck as you do this. And your forearms participate. So our forearms have this wonderful ability to rotate. There's two bones in our forearms, and they have this wonderful ability to rotate. And consider the little finger side of your wrist and the thumb side of your wrist. The thumb side of your wrist rolls towards each other as you look up. And the little finger side of your wrists roll towards each other as you return. Can you sense the rotation of your forearms? So you just look a little bit up in front of you and then back to where you started. Good. Go slowly, gently, rest when you need to. And then you tilt your face down towards the floor and return to where you started. Can you sense your forearms moving in the opposite direction as you do this? Does your back round or arch? What happens in your chest and spine? Right, and keeping your head cupped in your hands. You're all doing so well. This is not easy, and don't worry if you can't answer all these questions. It can take years of practice of putting our minds into parts of our bodies to observe what's happening there. And then combine. So once looking up, return, and then once looking down and return. What's happening in your spine and chest, in your forearms, and then let that go. Rest in sitting for a moment, rest sitting up. And then please come off your chair and lie on your back once more. So as you're lying on your back, you can once again feel the support of the floor. Legs long or bent. And notice if you feel any difference in how you contact the floor compared to when we started. So as you're lying there and just tuning into your breathing and your contact, and I'm going to just tell a little story of an experience I had around this idea of waiting. So I have 1 minute and I'll just yak on. So please just feel free if you need to roll over onto one side, if you need to change your position, just feel free to do so. So in 2016, I was on a bus to Windhoek in Namibia for a friend's wedding, for which I was a bridesmaid. And this bus departed from the station and it was going so slowly. And I thought, I don't know if I can do this. I just come out of a breakup and feelings were just really fresh and raw. And I just wanted to make this trip go faster. But it was really slow. And then we landed up at the border late at night or in the early hours of the morning. And we were stuck there, like the border was closed or something, or we just couldn't move through it. And we had to wait there for about 2 to 3 hours. And it was interesting for me, this bus journey in that way, because I had a few realizations. I realized, first of all, that I think I accepted it, that I couldn't do anything to make this go faster. And I was with other people. We were all in the same boat or the same bus, so to speak. And we just had to go through it. And I feel like God showed me something or taught me something. It was a very experiential thing, like this bus journey was sometimes the only way through or the only way out is through. I also had this question, is patience given or is it learned? And we will eventually arrive at our destination. It was just a matter of time. And half of the adventure is actually getting there. So we were so relieved, when the bus was finally moving again and we arrived at our destination. But I really just felt like, part of the adventure is actually getting there and the lessons that you learn along the way. So please roll to one side and come back to the waiting position. And again, you're on your chair. Can you sense your sit bones and your feet on the floor? And then you go down, you put your elbows on your knees and cup your chin in your hands. And then once more, you slide your right elbow towards your right hip joint. And see how this goes now. What happens in your chest and spine? And then you slide your left elbow towards your left hip joint. And how does this compare to the right? So you stay within your range, within your comfort zone with this. Just try it out and come back. And then combine. So do one after the other. You slide your right elbow towards your right hip joint, come back, and then slide your left elbow towards your left hip joint and come back. Notice your breathing. What happens in each hip joint? Does one slide a bit forward as the other one slides a bit back? Is there a way to reduce the friction? And perhaps it has to do with the shifting of weight somewhere. Do small movements, noticing your breathing. And how do you listen to all the movements that contribute to your elbows sliding? And what's happening with your feet? Perhaps you can notice some subtle shifts of weight. Pause a moment with that. And stay in that position with your elbows on your knees. And now just take your lower back back. So you're rounding in your lower back. And come back. And where does your back move back to help you do this? Make it a tiny movement, small. So your elbows stay on your knees. You just take your back back. And can you allow your spine to yield softly, your chest to soften? And remember that quality is more important than quantity. So doing just 2 of these movements, even 1 or 2, with full attention is much better than doing many repetitions, just soma. That's good. And then pause with that. And slide both your elbows now towards your hip joints and return. So yeah, I guess if you're using a cushion, this can be a little bit bothersome. Just notice if your lower back, your back and round yield to help you do this. And then pause with that, rest sitting up. So as you're sitting, I'd just like you to have your sit bones firmly planted and begin to look around your space. So you allow your eyes to rove around the room and observe the movements of your head and your neck as you do this. And you can breathe, and your eyes can be wide and soft, just taking it all in. And notice if your eyes are carried by your head or if your eyes tend to lead. Nice. Can you have a sense of your feet on the floor and your sitting bones on your chair as you rove with your eyes around the room? That's good. And one more time in the waiting position. And slowly lift both elbows just barely off your knees. And come back. And notice, has this gotten just a touch easier than at the beginning of the session? Is more of you available to participate? Can you breathe as you do this? That's good. And so now we'll go into about 3 minutes of free play, and I'll play a piece of music. And I would like you to just explore some of the movements that we did today, just what comes to your mind. So you can begin to do that now just in silence. Just which of these movements in the waiting position come to your mind? Or even if it's just sitting up and looking around the room, if you need to stand, you can stand. And at some point, I will phase in the piece of music. Remember that you're just hanging out, easing up your spine, doing these small, gentle micro movements while waiting.